Whenever we launch a new product internally, we pay obeisance to the demo God, and that's why we call the key my God. So each of you pray that this goes through fine, the last event of the day. Next. So let's start with a famous quote from a famous person, somebody we respect a lot. He talked about the people who are crazy are the only ones who really change the world. Right? There are starfish down there in the bottom. That's the first question of the day. Along this presentation, Usain Bolt with his fast finger will be coming on screen, and you need to send me an answer. My team here is tracking answers. So why is there starfish in a slide that talks about changing the world? I am here to talk to you about many things that we do at Zoho Corporation, a company that many of you might know, and how we learned a lot of things and how we unlearned some of the things that we had gotten along in our DNA, and what rules we broke along the way. We're going to talk about how we look at employability and how we look at academic credentials, or how we don't look at them, and how we have refined the art of interviewing. Employability is basically the ability of a person to get a job, apply for a job, get a job, and stay in that job. Many reports have come in over time. This one is from 2012, Economic Times, where 47% of the graduates coming out of Indian universities are not really employable for any job. And another that talks about 90% graduates and 75% engineers are unemployable. This one was as recent as 2014. But let's understand one thing though. The fact is, when we are born, 100% of us are unemployable. Right? So let's start with all of human knowledge. Look at it as a circle. This is all of human knowledge. As you get into primary school, you learn a little about everything. Then you get into a little high school where you learn a little more about everything. Then you hit secondary school where you start specializing. You choose subjects, you choose away from subjects, and there's a small bump developing. Then you enter college. Further specialization. First year, second year, even more specialization. You read papers, you present papers, you meet friends, you make presentations, you do a lot more research, and finally you are at the edge of a particular narrow stream of knowledge. You're poking at that edge. Let's focus and zoom in a little more on that. That is the edge you're poking on. You work hard, you study hard, you play hard, and a small bump develops. You have learned a little more than you thought you could, than people thought you could in your chosen field. The world looks very different for you. That's your degree, right? That's your degree. The world looks very different for you. This is that zoomed in factor, that small bump, that's your world now. You know everything about something very, very narrow. But what is the actual world looking like? You're just a degree better, and this is how your actual world looks like. There's supposed to be a circle there. It's coming. The problem is when you come out of your college and you meet people in real world, apply for a job, you have started experiencing questions like, hey, do you know comparative linguistics? They ask you. But that's something far away from what you specialized in. Do you know compiler design? They ask you. That's again far away from that narrow path you chose. Even worse, sometimes they ask you, hey, can you code the conservation of angular momentum? Think about that. So that's again something you migrated away from at class 8. So that's Usain Bolt for you again. What kind of software jobs do you think you'll encounter questions like these: linguistics, compiler design, angular momentum. You can key in your answers while we move on to the next slide. Why is no visuals coming? No visuals coming. Network slow. This then distills what we call at Zoho the curse of context-free knowledge. A knowledge where you have acquired focus on largely irrelevant stuff. You learn a lot about it, but it's largely irrelevant in the real world. And you ignore a lot of relevant stuff. And thirdly, the little stuff that's relevant that you learn is learnt without context. You really don't know what you're going to apply it in, where you're going to apply it, and so on. Try answering this question. What do you think is the secret fear of every electronics engineering student? It's the auntie next door, right? Who's the mother of that beautiful girl or handsome boy, right? Hey, nida electronics engineer ame, en TV work panna matengudhu. Right? Hasn't it happened to every one of you? That again is the result of the context-free knowledge we are given at most colleges, not this one. So that's a lesson we learned at Zoho. The lesson we learned was the really important parts of your education happens on the job. That's a rule we broke. See, if you look at this grid, there's a lot of stuff that you learn at college and some that you don't. And there's a lot that's useful at work and some that's not. As you start plotting them on this two-dimensional axis plane, there are a lot of things you learned at college which are useful. And of course, there are a lot that you didn't learn, thankfully, which are not useful. But as you go along, you realize there are so many other things that are useful at college, but not useful at work, and are useful at work and not useful at college. It's not as if we didn't know. I'm missing all the images of my presentation. There's a Gurukul photo there, which is supposed to tell you that we Indians knew this all along. That's how Gurukul used to work, right? Where the student went in and started sitting, following the teacher, attending everything he did, not just learning in a classroom environment, but even milking the cows and taking care of daily work day to day with the teacher. Again, even the Germans knew it. They had this gymnasium and the school environment where apprentice model of education has been going on for more than a century now. So that's what we started doing at Zoho University. Education with context. Who, where, how, when, why. We started providing that context. The next rule we started realizing that we are breaking is that of academic credentialism. And some more of them said, wasted time, dad's money, mom's money, wasn't really useful. But a whole lot of them at 2004 in our company had this to say: massive time waste, teachers were no good. No law. So we also had starting trouble way back in 2004. Our product managers will get students out of colleges, computer science graduates, MCA graduates, IT technology graduates, and we'll start giving them assignments. And the questions from them would be, hey, when will this person start being productive? Did he learn anything at all at college? These were the kind of questions that started coming. Quora very recently had a question, how is computer science and engineering taught at colleges? The answers were shocking. We were taught programs, not programming. Write the code in a sheet of paper and get it signed before you switch on the computer. It pains, it pains, it pains. With such an attractive pay scale for software engineers, nobody but the worst would remain at a college and be professors. Doing final year projects has become a scam, illegal nexus between head of the department to direct all students to one particular training institute. The syllabus is largely outdated, Python is never taught. So when you see a problem, you can wait for somebody to solve it, or you can try doing something, a little thing about the problem yourself. You can be part of the problem or part of the solution. So we started a small experiment. We wanted to think big, but we started small. We went to a nearby school. We looked at 6 kids who really didn't have any other options. They were going to discontinue education soon after 12th because they couldn't finance their way through college. We administered an aptitude test to them in English and Tamil, bilingual. 5 students, we put them with 2 teachers and gave them just 3 subjects to work on: English, mathematics, basic mathematics, and programming languages. 10 years from that moment, this is what we see. We have Vikash. The asterisk indicates the names have been changed. Son of a mechanic, he's a systems administrator earning that much. Prema is the daughter of a silversmith, the first graduate in their whole family history. She's an iPhone app developer. Anbarasu is son of a clerk. He's a team manager for a product vertical. And Charles is son of a cottage business owner. He's a webmaster. Hey, we must have done something right. And this is supposed to be a series of images, which won't work. So that's the story of Sri Lata. Yeah. So that's her. We'll quickly run through how she went through Zoho University and into Zoho. That's her and her parents in their backyard. We caught her at a school. We gave her an entrance test. It's bilingual. She was counseled on what software is and what path she's going to take. She starts attending class. That's theory class happening. And this is practical, where students are encouraged to work with each other. She's, in fact, working with a junior student. In fact, we have overlapped our batches so that before a batch goes out, the other batch comes in, and there's a lot of teaching, learning that can happen. She is inducted into a team as an apprentice once 9 months are completed. Further counseling happens. In fact, one of the counseling bits we do is how to handle money, because she is being given money to educate herself. She starts with a stipend of 8,000 rupees and it goes further up. And she is taken into the team after a period of 18 months. There's a lot of fun and entertainment happening too. That's the professor playing with students, and this is the CEO dancing with our students there. We must have done something right, because this is 300 of our employees, 300 of 2,500 employees haven't seen a college, right? So what about the other 2,200, right? So let's get to that, but this is the second lesson we learned. Our academic records don't really matter. So we decided we'll break that rule, right? We will not look at academic records, because we have Zoho University, which is not really affiliated to any university, for the primary reason that the pace at which we were changing the syllabus, no university would approve it. We are teaching Go language now, right? So the other 2,200 students, how do we get them? 2,200 employees, how do we get them? We look at interviews. How many golf balls can you fit into a jumbo jet? How many gas stations are there in New York? Okay, easy one. How do you move Mount Fuji? Okay, Usain Bolt coming up now. How many points are there on the globe? By walking 1 mile south, 1 mile east, 1 mile north, I'll be back in the same place. Don't shout the answers out. You can send them in. You will get shirts. So I brought 5 of these Zoho shirts for 5 of you. So questions like these, they're not fictitious questions. They are from Microsoft interviews, Google interviews, Amazon interviews. These things happen. In fact, some of you might know there is a book titled How Do You Move Mount Fuji and other amazing puzzles that the Microsoft interviewer asks you. But realize one thing, interviews like those, tests like those create static snapshots. They show you who you are. It's like getting engaged to a girl by looking at the photograph. Right? Take a look at these 2 people. One of them has killed 250 people in cold blood. Can you even guess who it could be? The other one is a movie producer. That's the problem. See, people are dynamic beings. They keep changing, they keep evolving, they keep adapting. And part of that adaptation is to learn how to game the system. I heard there is a bypassing app for the SSN proxy. Right? So, gaming the system and subverting authority is part and parcel of every dynamic human being. People are intrinsically unknowable. Don't, for the life of you, think you can sit in front of a person 3 hours, grill him, try to demonstrate that you know more than him or her, and somehow find out that this person has the best fit in my organization. No way. People are intrinsically unknowable and unpredictable too. Come on. You can't even know yourself, right? Buddha is perhaps one of the few people who did that. How are you going to know that about another person? So we decided, take a look at this exam, very fair exam. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb the tree. Imagine the plight of that goldfish there. Right? But do you think the goldfish has no skills? So we decided we will relax the system. HR or the central management will not impose any system on how to get people in. We have Tom and we have Jerry, 2 managers. One of them is from the old school. Test, level 1, level 2, level 3. 3 interviews of 3 hours each by 3 different people on 3 different days, and then hire. The other person takes them in on trust, on gut feel, and works with them, mentoring them along the way, and decides after some time whether to keep some or not keep some. One of them tests and hires. The other hires and helps along. What do you think is the success ratios of these 2? Which one of them has a higher hit rate? This is the data we have. Much of our decisions happen by data. You should too. 62% hit rate, 60% hit rate. So that's when we decided we will completely decentralize the way people approach interviewing. Here are some examples. Oh, before that, Usain Bolt wants to know, can you identify these 2 celebrities? Send your answers. So that's the crux of the matter. We have achievers at college. We have achievers at work. And of course, there are some of you who is going to be an achiever at college and an achiever at work. And unfortunately, some of us who is going to be a non-achiever at work as well as a non-achiever at college. But the truth of the matter is, there are so many others among us who are top achievers at college, but kind of go like a stone in water, disappear when they enter profession, and the converse. So interviews lie. So we started doing things like we embraced word of mouth. Hey, if you ran a company, would you recruit this person? Then come and tell me, recommend that person to me. I'd like to interact with that person. We started building roles around a person's skill. We started incubating ideas. People said, I have an idea. It's an idea for an app. It's an idea for a portal. It's an idea for a startup. We two have been working together from class 4. We have published papers together. We have bunked classes together. Okay, come, both of you come. Let's work on an idea. 15 days. No loss to either of us. Win-win. Let's see how it goes. Encourage them, give them a Mac, give them internet connectivity, give them guidance. This is what. We believe in a number of easy doors rather than 2, 3 very tough ones. Give them a second chance. Don't have time limits on exams. Don't look at the answers, look at the way they approach a problem. Discuss with them, see how they cooperate rather than compete. Oh, this is my personal favorite. Scratch a personal itch. I keep asking them, hey, look at that, that's Balu the bear in Jungle Book. Did somebody pay him to do that? Did somebody ask him to do that? Did somebody say, I won't pass you if you don't do that? Is he unhappy doing that? Can somebody else do that for him? That's the scratching of the personal itch. I've seen people who have come and told me, I have this bus to catch. Every day, this open API tells me when this bus leaves. Sometimes it's late, and the open API still reflects it. I have written a small app which tells me when I have to start so that I can catch the bus without wasting my time. Right? My grandfather is old. He can't see properly. I have written an app, I have written a software which will magnify anything that I hold on to a piece of paper. Right? So these are personal itches. You can't get them on the App Store. They're not that popular. And nobody else will write it for you. And it has to be a labor of love. You can't be graded for it. So we evaluate people by their labors of love. What passionate software have you created? In all these years, you have had amazing access to the computer and the internet. And all that I have said till now is just one sample of so many other things that Zoho does in ways of interviewing because it has decentralized the process. Again, the lesson learned, everyone's got talent. Spotting skills is the skill. I have a few more large discussions to make. The idea of the software professional, HRS, marketing, location, domain knowledge, business rules. These were all rules we have learned and broken. I wanted to talk to you all about them. But instead, I got so many other speakers. These are your alumni from SSN working at Zoho Corporation. I sent them 3 questions. I asked them these 3 questions. What, in your view, are the 5 things we do differently? Do you have any piece of advice for all these budding entrepreneurs and who want to join startups like whatever and Zoho? How useful do you find college? Remember that question? The same question. How useful do you find college? So here are the answers. Do you have 2 minutes here? Okay. So we'll run through the answers and we'll wind up. The 5 things that we do differently at Zoho from the vocal cords of your seniors. Informal dress code, casual communication, no manager cabins or CEO cabins, unique recruitment process. My tech is valued even if I can't communicate. No hierarchy. Amazing work culture. Every viewpoint is lent a kind ear. Incubation rocks. You remember I talked about incubation? Everyone is so approachable. No separate training, you get trained as you work, because that's the only training that works. Employers with heart, that's a good one. Interviews in Tamil, as long as I solve the problem right. Zoho University is cool. We eat our dog food really a lot. That's what's been happening now. This software is built by Zoho. Stress-free environment. Weekly open house with the CEO. Management puts employees first and it shows. Skill more valued than a degree. Academic records and certificates don't count. Great mentoring. Small teams, flat structure. No strict timings. Appraisal based on performance, not experience. Think about that. No micromanagement. Approach matters more than answers. Provision to do your own research, pursue your own passion. No sir, no ma'am. Free food, cool dorms, I live here, says the girl. No fake awards, employee of the month, and so on. Space to grow. Corporate with a human touch. Feels just like SSN. I can choose my team. I can choose my stream. I can live my dream. Great work-life balance. Agile approach to everything. And then we asked them, hey, what advice do you have? If you want me to take 2 sentences